sort of advocates.
Right.
That's perfect for them, because the more information, the better decision you can make on what the problem is and how to deal with it. So that's fantastic.
Okay, well, we'll share a whole bunch of those things back and forth, and probably have our corporate services coming forward with recommendations on a consultative committee for the town. So.
Excellent, great.
Sorry, any other questions? Mr. Zackel, please.
No, sorry, Mayor Wells, we're just working on a technical difficulty, and just wanted to make you aware that we're just having trouble getting Granicus up.
Okay.
And that's due to the TELUS lines that were down.
Okay.
So we're just making the switch over to make sure that we can get this
okay.
recorded. Well,
if you happen to see us or part of us, or blurbs of us, we're having trouble with Granicus with our online council production. So, Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say that given the report we've heard, it sounds like our money was well invested in the RCMP this summer.
Yes, thank you. Fair comment. Any other discussion from council? Thank you very much, Sergeant Schur. Nice to see you again, and it's just great. I'm so excited that we're sort of back to a small town community detachment again. I really think we lost something when we combined with Oliver, and I know that partnering and all those things are always considered to be better, but in this case it seemed we lost the sense of community is what we lost. So anytime we can bring that back is going to be real positive. Thank you for your report.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
That brings us to water matters. Under F1, Water District accounts in the amount of $11,993.12 for approval. That would be by Councilor Laranjo Morera. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried? We can pay some more water bills. Nothing in the correspondence. Councillor Ryan, was there some questions on that, or were you satisfied? Was that part of council, or?
I was satisfied. Actually, I I realized I should have circulated to everyone on that so that they got it. But yes, I'd asked about two items in there, and I was told that one was a course by one of our water
operators.
Water operators,
okay.
Thank you. And the other was updating the procedures by the consultant.
Okay, so. Great. That's fine, and that was handled. Thank you. No correspondence under H bylaws. Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw. There's a report here from the Deputy Corporate Officer. Mr. Zackel, are you presenting that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
So before council is the MTI Amendment Bylaw 1279.04. This is before council for adoption. The Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw 1279.04 received first three readings at the regular meeting held on December 3rd. The bylaw amends the schedule of fines under the Good Neighbor Bylaw 1277. An amendment is required to Schedule 10 of the Municipal Ticket Information Bylaw to allow for the town to access fines for nuisance in accordance with the Good Neighbor Bylaw. The proposed fine is in the amount of $200 or $160 if paid within 30 days. So the implications for community is enhanced service under the bylaw enforcement, organizationally ability to access fines for causing or allowing nuisance to occur on a property. Before council is two options. First option to adopt the MTI bylaw amendment 1279.04, and option two is to refer the bylaw back to staff for modification, and staff had recommended option number one.
Okay, so the adoption, under the options to adopt, because we just did this last meeting, right?
That's correct. Well, you gave it
do
first.
We have I guess my question, Mr. Zackel, do we have the amendment to the Good Neighbor and then final adoption of the bylaw, or is this an amendment that we're going to adopt? Because we adopted all the corrections at the last meeting, right?
You gave first three readings to MTI amendment bylaw, so nothing is in effect until the bylaw is adopted.
So if I'm reading this correctly, we have an amendment under the Good Neighbor bylaw, then also we have adoption of the bylaw.
No, the Good Neighbor bylaw is in place. The amendment is to MTI Bylaw 1279.04. And basically what that's doing is incorporating the MTI bylaw to allow for the fines that are probably prescribed under the Good Neighbor bylaw.
Well, on the overview, it says an amendment is required. And then in the options, we are adopting, we have the first 3 readings. So I can go with the first 3 readings, I understand to adopt. But then we have the amendment is required, and that, to me, that's 2 separate acts, I'm sorry.
Could I try and help clarify, Mayor?
Okay, please.
It's an amending bylaw to the MTI. The amendment referred to is the amendment in the Good Neighbor bylaws fees, fines.
Okay.
So we have 2 bylaws working together here. The MTI sets out the fines that we're allowed to assess. In this particular case, it's a fine under the Good Neighbor bylaw. So we're not amending anything from last meeting. We're just adopting an amending bylaw
Okay.
to allow for the fines.
So this was one that was missed or in addition to the previous ones?
It's an addition.
Okay, it's an addition. Okay, thank you. Councilors, could we have that resolution? Councilor McCordoff
Yes.
and Councilor Plant. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Under bylaws number 2, there's a report here, and this is the Foreshore and Lake Water Zoning Bylaw 1294-2012, a report from the Director of Planning and Development Services. Mr. Cunningham, please.
With an assist by...
With an assist, sorry, with an assisting by the planning and the approving, Director of Planning and Approving Officer. Mr. Shannon.
Okay, am I on? Yes. Okay. Attached is the Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw number 1294-212, prepared by Steve Shannon, following recommendations of the Lake Recreational and Commercial Task Force. The acronym is LRCU. The bylaw was presented by Mr. Shannon at the Committee of the Whole meeting on November 5th, 2012, and after discussion, Council directed that staff bring it to the regular meeting on November 19th, 2012, for consideration of first reading. The bylaw applies to the area between the foreshore and the town municipal boundary, which extends out an average of 100 meters into Lake Osoyoos. Though this area only constitutes a small part of Osoyoos Lake, it is under intense pressure from sometimes conflicting multi-users, such as recreational and commercial boaters, private strata and group merges, marinas and boat launches, ferry services and swimmers, and more recently, aqua parks, paddle boarding, and kite boarding. Some of these areas are also valuable aquatic habitat, including salmon, staging areas, spawning habitats, and rearing areas. This close nexus of intense multi-use pressures, together with serious ecological threats, leads staff to recommend water zoning as an effective resource management tool, one of the first jurisdictions in BC to take this initiative. An earlier version of staff's proposed water zoning bylaw went to Council for first reading on March 1st, 2010, followed by a public information meeting and a public hearing, but much of the input that was received was not supportive of the bylaw as written. Accordingly, on April 19, 2010, Council resolved to abandon the bylaw and directed staff to draft a new bylaw using a stakeholder involvement process. Council subsequently agreed to create our LRCU task force, which was structured to promote two-way exchange of information between the town and representative stakeholders, as well as promote dialogue between the different stakeholders themselves. The LRCU task force was formed in June 10 under the chairmanship of Councillors Cromwell and Rhodes, with 8 citizen members. The citizen members included 4 community-wide stakeholders: Roger Horton, Sue McCordiff, Jürgen Riertar, Jonathan Louis, and 4 sectoral water users: Drew Casa, Ralph Otto, Bob Roche, and Vincent Verk. Director Mark Pendergraft was also participated on behalf of Area A. Planning staff provided information and facilitative support. The LRCU task force met 7 times over the period of the year, starting with a joint meeting with Council and culminating on February 8th, 2012 with presentation of their 35 recommendations to Council. The task force's good work was rewarded by Council confirming their support for all the recommendations and agreeing to incorporate them as work activities into our business plan. Their recommendations focus on water zoning, but also cover specific issues such as protected public swimming areas, regaining town control over public resources for public benefit, and generally promoting lake public safety and environmental sustainability. Work then followed on preparing the Foreshore and Lake Water Zoning Bylaw, and the ensuing bylaw, which is presented for first reading today, closely follows the LRCU's recommended zoning system. As summarized in the table below, it is structured around 4 zones and their individual permitted uses. And the 4 zones are W1, public water usage, W2, private moorage, W3, group storage moorage, and W4, commercial uses. I won't get into the permitted uses of each of those zones because Mr. Shannon will be talking to that later. The proposed baseline zoning for the lake is shown on the map in Schedule A at the end of the bylaw. However, permitted uses can be changed at specific locations over time to accommodate changing needs through zoning amendments under our land use procedures bylaw. This will be done in the same manner as any other rezonings, e.g. submission of application, payment of fees, staff report, a public hearing, and council readings. A system of water zoning will provide the following benefits for lake management: balanced use of our finance resource base for accommodating competing public users and different sectoral private users. Match up permitted lake uses with complementary shore developments, such as strata morages adjacent to multi-family residential developments. Avoid conflicts between incompatible uses, e.g. public swimming and motorboating don't mix. Protects sensitive ecological areas against damage from high-intensity uses, e.g. marinas are not a good fit with areas that have high potential for salmon spawning. Protect public resources for public benefit. Reserve some waters fronting town-owned lands for publicly accessible swimming areas, and in other areas charge fair rent for private users to use a public resource. Apply due process rezoning procedures for council to consider applications for new uses to meet changing needs. Provide council with means to mediate increasing demands on our finance resource base. And lastly, enhance municipal powers for implementing and enforcing public policy. The public should be aware that our water zoning powers will be assisted and reinforced with 2 other parallel initiatives. First, the town now has foreshore inventory mapping and a biophysical habitat index, BHI, showing relative habitat values of different sections of our shoreline. Practically speaking, an area with a lower habitat index could, for instance, carry a greater density of moored boats than one with a higher index. This science-based information base has already been used to check out whether we are on the right track with our baseline zoning, and will be used as a future reference for assessing future proposed zoning changes. Second, the town has acquired tenure from the province for a license of occupation over the foreshore and waters funding all our publicly owned lands, which will allow us to treat any unauthorized use of these waters as an illegal trespass. I will now hand over the presentation to my colleague Steve Shannon to explain the scope of some of the permitted uses in each zone and some linkages between the bylaw and other task force recommendations. And I'm sure that questions would be welcome during that discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Before we start, Mr. Shannon, are you going to be using that map?
No.
Okay, okay. I was just thinking because we could swing it around so that the TV camera can pick that up.
Yeah, I won't need to use it. I just wanted to let you see how we got some nice colors going on it. We matched up the colors to our branding.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So anyway, starting with the zoning, the W1 is a public use water zone, and that the permitted uses are boating, recreational water activities, public buoy lease area, and public swimming areas. And that'll be a zone that fronts all of the waters that front public lands or crown lands. And then the second zone is your private moorage, and that's all the private property owners around the lake. And that is a lesser intense moorage, being it's just a single family and duplexes and the like. And that allows for boating and recreational water activities, fixed or removable docks, fixed or removable walkways, public moorage buoys, and boat lifts. And then we go into the more intensive zone, which is the W3 group / strata moorage. And that's a moorage area, like I say, it's more intensive, and because it fronts multifamily developments, or if you happen to have a group of residents in an area that happen to put in an application for a group moorage facility. Moving on to the W4 commercial use zone, which is your highest and most intensive use, commercial, and that allows for boating and boat launches, and that's where you'd find your marina pier or your yacht club. And I'm just going to move on and try to point out a couple of the recommendations from the LRCU task force and how the bylaw was crafted. Now, I've printed off the whole copy of them. I'm only going to pick off 2 or 3 of the major ones and just give you an idea how this bylaw was put together. So what I would say is, if you got a copy of the bylaw with you, if you go to the W2 zone, we had an LRCU recommendation, and it said limit single-family and duplex property owners to 3 boats in front of their waterfront lot, using any combination of boat slips, buoys, or boat lifts. So this was dealt with through a combination of using the size of the dock and the walkway. Under this private moorage zone, the size of the dockway and the walkway, so they're allowed to have fixed or removable docks, but the docks cannot exceed 24 cubic meters. And your typical width of a dock is 3 meters wide, so that's your 8 meters in length. I'm not going to go into all of the math that I did during the first meeting that we had on this topic, but and not everybody needs to flip back, but under the section 3.3 under moorage bursts, it lays out how all the moorage bursts are calculated, and each of these private property owners are allowed 8 meters, which just the tiny bit of math I'll give you. If you multiply the 3 by 8, you'd get your 24 meters. And you're allowed also a private moorage buoy or boat lift. So that was a little bit tricky to get that one into the bylaw, and I think it's covered up quite well in this way. So that was the calculation, and that covers off the LRC recommendation, where single family and duplex property owners are allowed, like I said, 3 boats in front of their waterfront lot, any combination. So moving on to the next one is a little bit simpler to understand. It says under the LRCU recommendation to limit residential stratas or shared interest developments to 1 dock slip per 2 residential units. Now, if you go to the next page over, it's your W3 zone, and you go down to under the density, that's under 5.3 2.0, that's the group and strata moorage regulations 1. Under the density, it says the maximum number of berths in a group moorage facility shall not exceed 1 per waterfront parcel. That's forming a part or a group or association of residents that all got together in the surrounding area to apply for that group moorage facility. So they'd be allowed 1 slip per waterfront parcel that was taking part in that group moorage facility. The second part of this one would be 2B there, where it says the maximum number of berths in a strata moorage facility shall not exceed 1 per 2 upland residential strata units, and that's exactly where it comes from in the recommendations from the LRCU task force. Limit residential stratas or shared interest developments to 1 dock slip per 2 residential units. So that's how that come about. And then one that has always causes a lot of discussion is the homeowners on Acacia Drive. There's a group of 4 different recommendations in the LRCU task force, and it begins by allowing each semi-waterfront owner between Jasmine Drive and Acacia Court, but not beyond, to apply for a town permit for mooring 1 boat per property. That's 1 boat per property in a town lease area by means of any combination of 2, a dock, a boat lift, or a buoy. So that was pretty difficult to think through. So what we did was in the W1 zone, just get to it here. In the W1 zone, there's a site-specific conditions of use, and it states that semi-waterfront parcel owners between Jasmine Drive and Acacia Court, legally described as, and I won't read all the legal descriptions, may apply to the town for a lease allowing for the installation of any 2 of the following. They can have a removable dock, a boat lift, or a private moorage buoy in any combination. So that covers that off exactly as it's written. You can have 2 of either a dock, a boat lift, or a buoy. So that is exactly the way it's written in the recommendations. But in the recommendations go a little bit further. Just for discussion, I'll tell you what they are. Each application would be for a non-transferable permit with a one-time fee. And if the property was sold, the new property owner would have to obtain a new permit and repay the fee. It says in this here specific conditions of use, removable docks. In other words, the fixed dock variety with piles and stuff is prohibited, because the next bullet in the recommendation says only allow removable docks with winter storage arrangements being agreed as part of the lease with the town, etc. And that all private buoys would have to be purchased from the town and carry its logo. So there's quite a number of steps that were brought into the LRCU recommendations around those site-specific permitted uses, because they are semi-waterfront property owners, not waterfront property owners. The town owns that Acacia Drive right away fronting their properties. They were the 3 that were the most difficult to fit into the bylaw when I was trying to create the bylaw. There's a number of smaller ones. I'll take you to section 3.6 just to point out a little one. 3.6 just says boat lift covers shall be commensurate with the size of the boat. And the LRCU recommendation for that one was that boat lift covers should be allowed because they provide useful protection for boats in our hot climate. But they should be subject to guidelines that match the size and the cover of the boat size. So we just put in boat lift covers shall be commensurate with the size of the boat. So they're allowed and be commensurate with the size of the boat. There's a number of small ones in there, but at the end of the day, all the recommendations in the LRCU task force are covered off. We didn't try to add anything or try to take anything away. We tried specifically to cover this off to the letter, as were the direction from council. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best to take them.
Do you want to ask the questions now, or do you want me to just complete the report? That won't take very long.
If there's questions now, I think sometimes it helps to ask them when it's current. So if there are some questions now, maybe we could ask them now, particularly of Mr. Shannon. And I guess I have one. When we look at that Acacia Court, is there other areas on the lake that are cut off from the lake? I'm sort of thinking of Lakeshore Drive. There's nothing out there that's similar to that. So we just have these 5 lots.
Well, there's quite a bit more than 5. There's about 16 or so of them. Yeah.
But it's the only area in town that matches that type of description.
That's right.
Where they're just protected from the lake by a right-of-way, and there's nothing, no property on the other side of the right-of-way.
So when we did the 5, which was lots 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I believe, that were here, yeah, they're mentioned under W1, the one that has the actual lots.
Just a sec. Yeah, there's
Site-specific conditions of use.
Yeah, lots 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yep.
Plan 83, 85, and then followed after that, there's lots 1, 2, and 3, Plan 17, 104.
Okay.
And then lots 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22
Okay,
of a
okay.
different plan. So there's quite a number there.
They're all eligible.
Yes.
And they're the only ones on the lake. We don't have others in different locations or anything that are not being so enfranchised.
We don't have any in the same scenario.
Same situation, okay. I guess along with that question, are people losing anything? I mean, it looks like you could be losing, if you were planning on having 8 boats in front of your house, you may lose that ability, but I'm sure your neighbors would appreciate that anyway. But so there's no one that's losing any rights, so we don't need any grandfathering other than these folks here?
Well, I'd just say that even under the W2 zone for the private property owners, they're only allowed 3.
Okay.
Right. So I don't think it's a huge loss. It's the waters are fronting public lands now. They're not fronting their own properties. So we've taken the effort to ensure that the docks are removable and you're not pounding in piles and making some really a permanent long-term structure. I think they're doing pretty good. Myself.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else from council? Okay, Mr. Cunningham?
I shall continue. Options. Council may, 1, give first reading to the bylaw as written before proceeding to a public hearing at some time to be set early next year at a subsequent council meeting, or 2, direct staff to make some minor revisions before proceeding, or 3, decide not to proceed at this time. Now turning to implications, first for the community, the bylaw will further the recommendations of the LRCU task force as adopted by council. Organizational, implementing the bylaw will place demands on town staff, which has been provided for in our work planning. Budget, the bylaw was completed in-house by planning staff based on recommendations from the largely volunteer LRCU task force. The supporting foreshore inventory mapping and biophysical habitat index were prepared by consulting services funded completely by the Okanagan Water Basin Board, thank you very much, with survey assistance from local volunteers. Environmental, maintaining the environmental health and attractions of Osoyoos Lake is a high priority of our community sustainability plan. Recommendations. Staff recommends that council give first reading to Foreshore and Lake Water Zoning Bylaw number 1284-2012.
Thank you. Council, please. Councilor Ryan.
Mr. Mayor, I would move the recommendation of staff.
Okay, thank you. And that seconder, Councilor McCordoff. Any further discussion on that? I think just I would again like to add a little color. It's been a fairly long time coming, and I happened to be on council when that first report came in, as Councilor Ryan was, and we certainly got the attention of anybody living within 3 blocks of the lake. They certainly all turned up in the planning department to voice their concerns, and I must say at that point, displeasure with that first go round on the foreshore planning, and when we got out there and involved them and brought them in on the committees, this thing really moved forward in a very, very positive way. I think it's a great tool for Osoyoos. We always have a lot of concerns and questions. It's a very, very high use water body that everyone, we have to share it. And so this is a part of that, of making this livable and usable for all people concerned with Osoyoos Lake. So thanks a lot for your good efforts, and we'll see if we get any further feedback on that from the public, which is always still welcome. But I believe we're completely on the right track here in moving this forward. So, is there any further council input? Okay, all in favor, please. Opposed? We're down that road, going down that road.
Thank you, Council.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your reports and your efforts. Next up on the agenda would be the sign bylaw. Again, Mr. Cunningham, please.
And talking about long gestation periods for bylaws, this is my report number 17. I'm almost embarrassed to say that, but on the other hand, I'm proud that I actually stuck with it. The purpose of this report is to seek council adoption of the attached sign bylaw number 1282-2012. The bylaw received first reading on July 16, 2012, and has since been confirmed by our lawyer, Bill Bullhauser of Young Anderson, that provincial sign-off is not required for council to exercise its authority over regulating signs under the Community Charter and the Local Government Act. The latest version of the sign bylaw is significantly improved over the first draft that went to public hearing on October 11th, 2011. At the hearing and in written correspondence, the business community expressed serious concerns about the bylaw and submitted a petition requesting that the consultation process be extended. On November 7th, 2011, Council directed staff to proceed as follows. 1. Liaise with a business owners committee as requested in their petition. 2. Continue to hold interviews with individual business operators to discuss how the sign bylaw may affect them personally. And 3. Take a sign bylaw back to a second public hearing. During the lengthy consultation process that ensued, Council approved a large number of improvements in response to business concerns and proposals. On recommendation from planning staff, Council approved 11 revisions immediately following the first public hearing, and subsequently approved a further 17 revisions in response to proposals made by the business community and their consultants' 5-star permits. Lastly, 7 revisions were added after the second public hearing on June 11, 2012, mainly in response to further proposals from 5-star permits. Thus, a total of 35 revisions have been incorporated in the final bylaw, now going for consideration of adoption, as well as numerous other small refinements. Sign bylaw offenses, fines, and enforcement responsibilities will be incorporated in our municipal ticket information bylaw and taken to Council for first, second, and third readings on January 18th to 13. The accompanying staff report at that time will outline other steps that will be taken to implement Council's bylaw. 3 options. Council may 1. Adopt the sign bylaw, or 2. Direct staff to make some minor revisions before proceeding, or 3. Decide not to proceed at this time. Covering implications. First of all, the community. Adoption of the bylaw will advance the public purposes cited in the bylaw, which are to promote the town's aesthetic attractiveness as a resort community, promote effective advertising that informs rather than confuses customers and avoids excessive visual competition between signs. 3. Limit distractions from commercial signs for the safety of drivers and pedestrians. 4. Minimize nuisances from signs in residential neighborhoods. 5. Promote dark sky protection with reduced upward light loss, not lower light loss, by the way, which some people were concerned about. That's why we added reduced upward light loss. Promote energy conservation. And 7. Regulate safe sign placement, construction, and maintenance. Other Implications to consider. Osoyoos is currently the only local government in the South Okanagan without a sign bylaw. Without a sign bylaw, we are very vulnerable to the threat of undesirable signage coming into our community, such as billboards and more third-party rooftop and flashing signs. Another consideration, if we want the province to clean up signage along the highway approaches coming into town, we need to make sure our own house is in order. Organizational implications. Implementing the bylaw will place demands on town staff, which has been provided for in our work planning. Budget. The bylaw was completed in-house by planning staff for the benefit of extensive consultation with the local business community. Bylaw enforcement monies will be needed. And environment. Putting in place a signed bylaw is a priority under Policy 1025 of our OCP. Recommendations. Staff recommends that Council adopt signed bylaw number 1282-212.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Council, please. Councillor McCordoff.
Thank you. I would definitely recommend that we accept staff's recommendation and adopt the signed bylaw number 1282, 212.
Thank you. And a seconder for that, Councillor Plant, please. Discussion. Anyone? Councillor Plant.
I just wanted to say, I think it was this last couple of weeks I've been hearing about on CBC about, I think it's Cranbrook, that is now starting into the sign bylaw. And just listening to that on the radio and them starting that process, I just want to thank you for all the work you've done. And, you know, I know we were on Report 17. There are small towns that are just starting on these reports. I hope they learned something from this, and that what was the big thing for, I think, for us, and I think you would agree, was the communication that we had with the business community. And as they go into those deliberations here for the signed bylaw, I hope they take those on. So great work. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Plant. And yeah, when we had all those, and there was very many objections, but we certainly worked through a lot of them when we got on, when we started working together with those, for example, those 35 changes. It really started coming together in a positive way. And I'll finish my comment right now. What a Christmas present. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, I'm happy to see this too, and I just realized that if this is Report 17, then we've dealt with this 17 times too.
That's right.
But anyway, the previous one on the lake recreational and commercial use, which we've just started the process of approval, and this one, which we're actually giving final approval to it, represent a whole new way of operating in the community, and both in interaction with the affected groups, as well as getting a cross-section of members of the community to assist in a task force situation. So I think they represent kind of in some way a high watermark in terms of the way we do business, and so it's a pleasure to support it.
I agree.
Great. Councillor McCordoff?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
This is terrific.
Yeah, that's certainly nice to have it done, and I think moving forward with it, it's going to be the relationship we have with the Ministry of Transportation and some of those highway signs. This certainly shows our clear intent to be working with and partnering with other groups and see if we can get a handle on some of the rogue signs that are happening out there. So, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That has been carried. Under the sign bylaw, the next under the business, an appointment to the Technical Advisory Committee for the Regional Growth Strategy. Director of Planning and Development Services, Mr. Cunningham, please.
Okay, this purpose of this report, my third and final one, is to seek council appointment of an Osoyoos staff representative on the Technical Advisory Committee for the Regional Growth Strategy, RGS. Attached for Council's information is a letter dated November 23rd, 2012 to Mayor Wells from Dan Ashton, RDUS Board Chair, requesting that a staff representative from our organization be appointed to the RGS Technical Committee. The committee's terms of reference are also attached. Director Cunningham was the town's representative during the process of developing the RGS and prepared the required regional contact statement approved by Council for inserting an OCP showing how it supports RGS policies. Also, since approval of the RGS on October 22, 2009, he has consistently been our representative at meetings of the Technical Advisory Committee, the status of which the RDUS Board has now officially endorsed. Recommendation, staff recommends that Council appoint Alan Cunningham, Director of Planning and Development Services, to be appointed, as the Osoyoos staff representative of the Technical Advisory Committee for the Regional Growth Strategy, RGS.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Now, Councillor Ryan, you had some questions relating to this?
Yes, I did, and I'd be happy to, first of all, to move, if you like, that Great. We do, in fact, appoint Mr. Cunningham. I think he's proven already to be an excellent member of that community, or that committee. But in addition to moving that, I would also like to perhaps ask for a little bit of a background, because I know this committee has been around, and we have put a lot of effort through our staff and even the council in approving this and the regional growth strategy, putting it into our official community plan. And I know that the newspapers have recently said that the regional district has sort of seems to have gone against a recommendation of their advisory committee on growth strategy around the Basso Lake area with a proposed development. And I wonder if perhaps between the two of you, Mr. Mayor and you and Mr. Cunningham, if you could just elaborate a little bit on that without having my motion die for lack of a second.
Okay.
Well, I could start off and say that the recommendation was from RDUS staff and not from the committee that I sit on. However, it was discussed by the committee, and in retrospect, and I think I can feel your concerns. I think that one of the jobs of the technical committee has to be refined and improved, and it falls under the rubric of what they call a collaborative review process. And we had a very significant test, I think, to that process. And I think that myself, and I would hope that some of my other committee members would come to the realization that we didn't pass it as well as we might. I think there should have been a more concerted effort for the committee to send very similar messaging out to all of their councils, and unfortunately I kind of missed that a bit because I was off 1.5 weeks, but I think next time round we really need to be a little bit more systematic in terms of identifying, the role of the committee and exercising it with respect to what I think was a regionally significant development proposal.
Thank you, Director Cunningham. And I guess it came before, interesting enough, it came before the board twice. And the first time I wasn't there. I was away on, I had another board meeting, and Councillor Rhodes was there. And they actually, after 5 years that they've been at the regional growth strategy?
Yes.
In bits and pieces, but after 5 years, when the first challenge came, they excluded the property from the regional growth strategy, which certainly had staff very, very concerned after this amount of work. And planning for a lot of the rural areas is, I won't say it's a new concept, but for some of them it is. It just doesn't come up that often. And so I think that had something to do with it. And when you're at the regional district with 18 directors, there's people that are in and people that aren't in. So so when you have 18 directors, for example, on this one here, the Smokeamine directors weren't in because they don't belong, they don't have a regional planning. Some of the communities don't have planning. Costin doesn't have planning. So that's, you know, we're sort of all over the place there, and it's hard to get a handle on it. And then you, as a part of the 5-year program going forward that got this regional growth strategy in place, and it's quite complicated with all the different areas, and they have different values. You know, there's different values in Naramata, for example, than there is in Okanagan Falls, or than there is in a Osoyoos rural area. So putting this all together was quite a task. But then we're only in this with elected officials for a year, and so they're sort of fairly new at it. And there was an applicant that had applied to remove the property from the regional growth strategy. So he was coming forward and he was looking at, I think, a grandfathered situation to remove it. So anyway, they did. They excluded it from the regional growth strategy. It doesn't really mean that the development was going ahead per se, or as applied for many other steps to go through. Well, there was quite a bit of input from the directors, and I was at the next meeting and had brought myself and got brought up to speed on what the issues were. And then it was brought back, Chairman Ashton brought it back on a motion to reconsider, which the chair can do. So he brought it back, and it was removed again, but it was a 1-vote margin. So it's getting closer, and again, it doesn't mean that development's going through. There's many other issues, but I think it was quite a disappointment to staff, and I'm glad to see that we have Director Cunningham back on. His skill in planning is probably one of the best in the South Okanagan Valley. So they're going to need this. They're going to need this as a planning tool. It's nice to have it as you're looking at what's happening in rural areas. And anyway, so when we get him appointed back, I'm sure this will stay strong and get better, and we'll be looking at it as a planning tool for the regional district area.
Good. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councilor McCurdoff. Anything further on that? All in favor of that appointment? Opposed? Director Cunningham, you're back on the RGS.
Thank you very much.
Under business 2, Dairy Queen proposed facade upgrade and exterior modifications. Direct from community planner approving officer, Mr. Shannon, please.
Yes, I have a small development permit application here. The applicant is Paul Dumaret from 3 Bar Construction. It's for the Dairy Queen property on Highway 3. The owner of the property is Lang's Enterprises Limited. The purpose of this application is to allow for a minor facade upgrade and along with some minor exterior modifications. The permit has been prepared for council's consideration and attached to this report. The subject properties are located at 5914 Main Street. I'm sure everybody's aware where the Dairy Queen is. Lang's Enterprises Limited, the owners of the Dairy Queen, wish to make the following improvements to the existing building. They wish to expand the servicing area at the front of the building by 3 feet to gain more working space inside, and to construct a false chimney on the exterior, and that's all as per the modern Dairy Queen standards, and it'll have a stucco finish. They wish, when the application was made, they wish to construct a new freezer / cooler at the rear of the building on the north side, removing the existing freezer from their interior, again trying to free up some workspace. I've been told in the last I guess about a week ago, that the Dairy Queen, the head office or something, they're not real happy with that particular renovation, so that might not be happening, that one. And they also wish to remove the existing red mansard parapet. That's the one that's on about a 30-degree angle that's all around the whole building right now, and replace it with a straight up and down vertical parapet of the same height, and with a new stucco finish on the whole parapet. The terms and condition of the development permit also require the property owner to consolidate the 3 subject properties, and they're legally described as lots 11, 12, and 13. Plan 6124, District Lot 43. I've attached a copy of the site plan so you can see it. This is pretty much a matter of housekeeping for the town's cadastral mapping. Typically, when these properties were developed, they would have been consolidated at that time. The land is required to provide building setbacks, parking, their parking needs around on both of those side lots, and to enable the vehicles to operate in the circle customer service drive-through function that they have there. To ensure that the proposed alterations are not held up in any way, the property owner is required to consolidate these subject properties prior to the release of a building permit security deposit. So you may notice on the front of the report, we took the application on December the 3rd, and to help this applicant try to get a building permit and the development permit as quickly as possible so they could start work, we moved it onto this council, and we don't want in any way to hold them up from getting that building permit. So I'm not sure what the building department charges. It might be $2,000 building or damage deposit, and prior to the release of that deposit, we'll require those properties to be consolidated. There's a copy of the permit, like I was saying, attached, and before I go into the implications, I'll just tell you a couple things about it. The terms and conditions, the colors, we've got a couple color sample in our office, and it's funny, it was called a gold under when they mixed this this Benjamin Moore paint with the stucco, but we gave it our own name, and we're calling it Adobe Brick, and it's pretty close to what it is. It's almost the color of these desktops. And that's about it. The exterior renovations are listed, and the signage that they've had to put up under our land use procedures bylaw have to be removed. And any new signage, this is important, any new signage will need to comply with our new sign bylaw. Yeah. Under implications, under the community, the proposed facade upgrades will enhance the main street. And under organizational, it complies with the town's facade guidelines with the stucco and the false chimney on the front, the parapet, and the color. Under budget, the development permit fees were collected. And under sustainability, it's not a lot, but stormwater downspouts will be maintained and cleaned out, et cetera, as this new parapet is constructed. Council's options are: 1, the council approves development permit 1204 subject to the terms and conditions. Option 2, the council does not approve permit number 1204, and staff recommend option 1.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Shannon. Council, please. Councilor Ryan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will move that we approve development permit number 1204 subject to the terms and conditions.
Thank you. And seconder, Councilor Plant. Any further discussion on that? Councilor Plant.
Other than it's great to have the one of the staples in our town. It's especially at this time of year, and hearing some about how we are in the world and economically and businesses closing down, to see us going in this direction with Dairy Queen especially. This is a really staple, honestly, in this town as far as in the summer months, and so for them to take this on and to continue to add to our community, it's great to see.
Yep. Thanks, Councilor Plant. I guess my comment would be as to the signage. I would think they would be quite a bit out of compliance with our new sign bylaw when you look at that freestanding sign out there. And they're aware. Have we had any feedback from that yet?
I made it quite generic in the permit that any new signage would have to comply with the sign bylaw. Exactly how staff are planning to deal with the freestanding sign in their existing signage, I can't speak to that.
Okay, so there could be some grandfathering there. Is that Mr. Cunningham?
And I think I probably know the sign that you're referring to, and I'm sure that's dear to the heart of many children, and we wouldn't be hard-hearted and tell them to take it down just because it doesn't meet modern practice.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Any other input from council? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. They can get busy quickly here and have it done maybe in 2012. Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Okay, continuing on in the business, there's a report here on council remuneration and expenses. It's the expenses of individual councillors for the year. Now, there has been some changes with the attachment reported there. Basically, it affected myself and Councillor Ryan. A small amount of his expenses were billed to me. So if we're looking at the remuneration was fine. If you look under the Mayor Wells, the expenses paid for me are now $7,741.01. So that's a downward from what was reported. And if you look at Councillor Ryan, he is now at $4,812.25. And that is an upward movement from him as they move some expenses from myself again to Councillor Ryan. Other than that, it's as reported, and I'll let Mr. Zackel make the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells, and thank you for bringing forward those two changes to the council remuneration and expense paid report. This report is as part of our bylaw 948. And each year under section 168 of the community charter, we have to report on it to council, or report on council's expenditures annually. This reports on the annual remuneration paid to council for their discharge of office, including the amount specified as an expense allowance. This also includes their expense allowance or expense payments that were paid throughout the course of period of time, as well as any benefits, including insurance policies or medical and dental and such and so forth. The period covered in this report is from December 1st, 2011 to November 30th, 2012. And what's required is a resolution from council to receive this amended council remuneration expense paid report.
Okay, and as an addition to that, this is basically everything that council gets. If there's mileage for going to a meeting, if we're at a conference, it includes all the registration fees, the hotel fees, the meals, and any expenses directly attributed. When it gets to the mayor carries a cell phone, and that ranges from $80 to just over $100 a month. That is again attributed to me. So that's roughly a $1,200 charge. It's in there somewhere. But those are attributed to me as part of doing business on behalf of the town. The councillors, just for the people that don't have it, they're in that $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000 area, and I'm at the $7,700. Along with our council remuneration for the jobs we were elected to do. So that's public information. We do this every year, and we need this resolution to receive this report. Councillor McCordoff, Councillor Ryan. Any further discussion from council? I think I basically covered it all. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next item up for business is we're looking at a bit of a new, well, maybe it's not a new position. It might be coming around again. We're looking at a liaison role to the school board and again a report from the CAO. acting CAO, Mr. Zacco, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So this report is from our CAO, Barry, regarding the liaison to the school board appointment. For the background, Council's business plan discussion focused on methods to meet the governance key result areas goal of GMA2, which is highlighted to state to develop and maintain strong mutual respect and productive relationships with other local governments and Aboriginal government to enable development of high quality services for the municipal benefit of regional citizens. In the overview, Council noted that an increased communication was needed with the Okanagan-Smilkameen School Board to ensure that the future of our school services in the community was communicated to Council in a timely fashion. To assist with this communication, it was recommended that a Council member be appointed as an official liaison to the local school trustees. The function of the Council liaison would be to meet with the school board trustees on a regular basis to discuss the current trends in local school service delivery. Council discussed appointing Councillor Plante in the role of school board liaison. Implications for the community would benefit from inter-council communication to ensure long-term delivery of community school services. Organizational, no staff time, however, Council or Councillor would make verbal report to Council on meetings that occurred. And from a budget and sustainability point, there is nothing to report on that. The options before Council is 1, appoint Councillor Plante as a school board liaison. Option 2, appoint another member of Council to the role of school board liaison. And 3, do not appoint a school board liaison. So recommendation from Mr. Romanko was that Council follow up on previous discussion and appoint Councillor Plante as to the role of school board liaison.
Thank you. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I'd be happy to move that we appoint Councillor Plante as our school board liaison.
Okay, and Councillor McCordoff is second. Any discussion on that? Councillor Plante.
It would just be to say thank you. I look forward to this for the simple reason, just as it says in our background, and that's just to continue to develop and maintain strong mutual respect and productivity as far as how we can relate and communicate with our school district a little bit better. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, and it's great. It's nice to have somebody with children coming into the school system that are going to be on that liaison position. I don't know if we need an amendment. I don't see an alternate there, and most of our positions have alternates. Could we just get as part of that resolution as an amendment, Councillor McCordoff in that alternate position?
Yes, I'd be happy to include that. Good,
okay.
That's very good point.
So as amended, that would be Plante McCordoff on that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Congratulations on your new roles. Okay, and there's also an appointment to the Okanagan Regional Library Board, and I'm just well, we'll go through this list because there's some other appointments that are part of this also. So, and some of the ones that I have here are also coming forward as singles, but they might be actual resolution requirements.
Okay.
So, if we look at the report from the Okanagan Regional Library Board, Mr. Zacco.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Wells. So before Council, this next appointment is the appointment to the Okanagan Regional Library Board. And the purpose of this report is to seek Council's appointment of a representative and an alternate representative to the Okanagan Regional Library Board for 2013. Attached to this is Council's information letter dated November 28th to Mayor Wells from Leslie Dino, Executive Director of the Okanagan Regional Library, requesting the appointment of a council representative to the board for 2013. Attachments to the letter include library board meeting schedule, letter of appointment form, the board member and alternate contact forms. Councillor McCordoff was council's representative for 2012 with Councillor Ryan as her alternate. The appointment must be done by resolution of council. So implications: community benefits from council representation as a member of the library board. No staff time is incurred for the organization. The appointee would report to council on board activities. And sustainability is continuing to have a voice on the Okanagan Regional Library Board. So the recommendations or options that we have on here, 3 options: that Councillor Sue McCordoff be appointed as council representative to the Okanagan Regional Library Board for 2013, with Councillor Michael Ryan as her alternate. The second option is for that councillor as delegated be appointed as council representative to the Okanagan Regional Library Board with an alternate council member attached. And third option is to not appoint anybody as council representative to the library board.
Okay, Councillor Plante, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, with all the great work that both of them have already done on this committee, it's easy for me to just go with option number 1 and say that we'd like to have Councillor McCordoff be appointed as the council representative, and that that alternate would be Councillor Ryan for 2013.
Okay, and I'll second that. Any discussion on that? All in favor, opposed, carried. Again, congratulations, and great to have you back on the library board, and Councillor Ryan is your alternate in the second seat there. That's pretty good 1-2 punch that we've got. So that letter of appointment that just is attached. Contact form. The next business item is a report. It's an appointments to special and standing committees. These are committees, maybe I'll take the lead on this here and just finish this off. Purpose of this report: to seek council appointment of representatives, and in some cases alternate representatives, to the special and standing committees of council for 2013. We have an attached list which has the 2012 list of appointments to the special and standing committees. And Councillor McCordoff has expressed her willingness to be appointed to the Economic Development Advisory Committee for the 2013 team. So I think what I'll do is just go through the chart. Option 1 is recommended, and I'll just see if we've got that. Destination Osoyoos. Okay, if we're scrolling down there, the first change, Destination Osoyoos Board, would be Ryan, and Rhodes as the alternate. Then we get to EDAC. So EDAC would be Sue McCordoff would be the appointee there, and Mike Plante would be the alternate. The next item would be the Highway 3 Coalition. I sit on that board. It sometimes sits once a year, sometimes once every 2 years, and it did meet last year in Castlegar, and it's actually quite a great lobbying board. It's all the mayors from all the towns across the southern part of BC promoting Highway 3, and we're actually going places with it. We're actually having some good nods and some planning going on the whole Princeton Highway, on the Princeton side of the whole Princeton Highway. So anytime, if they can take out five of those bad switchbacks and corners, and we just keep plugging away at it, that's a real positive response, particularly for folks in Osoyoos and our tourism community. So I do sit on that one there. The next item for change that I see, on the Okanagan Regional Library, it would have been corrected. It was Sue McCordoff and Rhodes, and that is Sue McCordoff and Michael Ryan now, as has been changed. On the going down further, RDOS, Wells and Rhodes, we were appointed at a previous meeting. On the Restorative Justice Committee, in the staff representatives, Jeanette Van Vienen is basically, she's off that committee. She made that statement that she's not there anymore. That was just going through the initial startup. It's now gone over to the town staff, and I think that is everything that I have on that. So if we had a motion to receive this, I think, is that
Motion to receive with the amendments as noted.
As amended, okay, great. Motion to receive as those amendments came in. Councillor McCordoff, Councillor Plant. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So those appointments have now been made. Bringing us to, just have to take a minute here and see exactly where we are. Standing committees. Item 7, council representation discord to action, and we have a report from the CAO. Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Again, this is another report from our CAO, Barry, regarding council representation, the subject discord to action. Attached, please find a summary of the community meeting that was organized to identify issues and find solutions relating to the relationship between local communities and transient farm workers. As a result of the meeting, of working committee has been formed, and council has the opportunity to send a representative to this working committee. Okay, that doesn't. Basically, from what I understand from this, is the meeting is being scheduled with the working committee to deal with this issue. Council has the opportunity to send a representative to this working committee to have council's voice heard. No funds have been budgeted for this contribution to this project. From a community perspective, community would benefit from the elimination of issues related to the impacts of transient workers and non-workers on local residents, tourists, and community facilities. Organizationally, no staff time has been allocated to the working of this committee, and no funds have been budgeted to deal with this action on this group. Mr. Ramanko has 2 options before council: to appoint a council member to this action committee, or not to appoint a member to this action committee.
Okay. And I think there's 2 steps here. Thank you, Mr. Zackel. I think there's 2 steps here. And the first step is, are we going to have somebody on that committee? And then who? So I think to both of those questions, I'm going to defer to Councillor Ryan. He's been involved more than anybody, and I think we should, if he believes that we should be involved and there's value there, then I think we should listen to that report better, unless somebody knows better. But I'm willing to hear what Councillor Ryan has to say on that. So,
well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There were people who volunteered for the committee at the forum, and they did meet, I think, approximately 2 weeks ago. Now, I haven't heard anything subsequent to some of the emails that I received from the coordinator of the group. It does have a sort of a limited life. There was a grant that was given for about a 6-month period, and I think they're trying to finish up in March, the end of March. I definitely feel that it would be important for us to sort of monitor it so that we know what's happening. I know that it's a working committee, so they're trying to sort of take the issues and divide them up and work on them. Frankly, while I'm interested in it, I'm also aware that I'm going to be away for the better part of February.
Okay.
But I would be happy to, if council would so wish, I would be happy to contact them, say that we would like to be a part of it to the degree that we can, and that I've been asked, and perhaps another colleague, if whatever council feels, so that we can not only share in the deliberations, but put forward some of our concerns and some of our ideas about how to do this. So that's about as much as I can say. I definitely feel that some support to them is important, so that there can be some positive outcome. But I'm not sure who the members are at the moment of that committee, and I don't know if they've met more than once.
Okay. Well, hearing what you've said, and that they've already met at least once, and the fact that you're going to be away on a personal holiday in February, maybe we can just let this one sit there. And could you be our liaison with Lily and keep us in the loop? And you have a knowledge of that group anyway, and you seem to enjoy it. So maybe you can report back to us, and if it's going to end in March, there's not much use going through an appointment and everything. And I think if you can keep the information flowing both ways, would be good without getting into a whole appointment and that. So.
I think that makes sense. I think, if we call it a liaison, I'd be happy to do that, to keep in contact. And Lily is, she seems to have enormous energy and commitment to this, which I respect. So I'd be happy to take that role and sort of, on behalf of council, just as remain in contact, try to keep you informed about what's happening, and try to put in whatever I feel I could that's valuable on behalf of council and some of our perspective.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Zackel, should we have that as just as it is right now, or do you want that as a recommendation as a liaise position, or?
I would recommend that you have a liaise position, because then it gives Councillor Ryan the authority to represent council on the committee.
Okay, perfect. So that's coming from Councillor McCordoff-Plant. All in favor, opposed, carried. Thanks, Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you.
Now, the next item up would be a report from the CAO on the service and attraction signage program. Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So at the December 3rd, 2012 council meeting, Ross McLean from the Ministry of Transportation provided council with an update of the Ministry of Transportation Service and Attraction Sign Program. This program is being designed and implemented by MOT to decrease signage clutter on highway right-of-ways and enable local government to promote a specified number of services and attractions. MOT has also mentioned their goal of decreasing private signage on highway and right-of-ways between Osoyoos and Penticton. The sign program enables local governments to identify 6 services and 4 attractions to place on highway entrance signage. This enables the community to promote their major community attractions to assist with visitor attraction. The program also involves working with MOT on other minor signage on highway right-of-ways in town. MOT pays all associated costs with the sign development and installation. However, the local government must identify the services and attractions to promote. The implications for the community will benefit from a less cluttered highway right-of-way and marketing of its attractions and services. Organizationally, staff time to facilitate the implementation of the program. Budget, MOT pays the cost of the installation and production, and sustainability not applicable. So the options before council is direct staff to write a letter to MOT requesting the services of the new service and attraction signage program, and to work with Economic Development Committee and Destination Osoyoos to identify the services and attractions to place on the signs. Option 2, direct staff to write a letter to MOT requesting the services of the new service and attraction signage program, and to identify the services and attractions themselves. And 3, make no request to MOT service and attraction signage program. So the administration was recommending option 1.
Great, thank you. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would be happy to move that we adopt option 1.
Okay, and that's seconder, Councillor Plant. And discussion on that, please?
Yes, I think it's very good to have our 2 groups, the Economic Development Committee and Destination Osoyoos, work together on this. I know that Destination Osoyoos has been reinvigorated with some new members and new staff and a new location, if I might say so. And I think the 2 groups working together will create a great deal of synergy. And so I think this is a wonderful program. I've heard about it twice as member of the Traffic and Safety Committee as well as council. So I'm pleased to support this.
Okay, and that seconder was Councillor Plant. Yeah, any comment on that?
Just again that I think it's important for us to continue to engage our community, our stakeholders, and this going through work with Economic Development Committee as well as Destination Osoyoos does cover that basis for us, and I think it's an important. Again, we've learned from many different things that we've done that involvement from our stakeholders is key. So this is one way that we can do that for sure.
Great. And the cleanup component, of course, is going to be wonderful anytime we can get some consolidation and some good signs out there. Councilor McCordoff.
Yeah, thank you. I think that when Mr. McLean was here at our meeting last time, he definitely is into signage and he's passionate about it, and he had some very good ideas, and so I think absolutely that we need to follow up on this and continue, because that sounded like it was right what we needed.
Yes. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor, opposed, carried. I just going to have one comment on that. We also have those other signs, and I know it sort of came up in that report, but we have those other signs that are privately owned, and there's one at Destination Osoyoos, and there's one across the lake at Kinsman Park, and they have the small private business lots that you can, and they're really, as signs go, they're well received, and they're a real good medium, and they're owned by Rocky Mountain Signs, or I'm not even sure of the name of it, but did we ever do anything to sort of get that promoted? Because they seem to be not very well used, and yet they're lit signs at night when you come in. You see people using them, and I wonder if there's anything we can do. Maybe Destination Osoyoos.
Perhaps we could check that out. Yeah, I'll put that forward. I know that the gentleman who's in charge of the signs for the Ministry of Transportation, he just thinks they're just terrific, and they have a lot of possibility. I think there's been some confusion as to who is responsible for liaison with the owner of the signs, but they certainly would add, they're an addition, because even the ones we're talking about here from the Ministry of Transportation only have four key things, and then 6 little logo add-ons. So those are good, and of course Okanagan Falls has one, and people they do stop throughout the Highway 3 corridor. There are a number of those in various communities. So I'll bring that up to Destination Osoyoos and see if we can track down who the people
owns
are.
it, and maybe with a bit of a promotion, it could be almost a fundraiser for Destination Osoyoos, and because I've seen them down to, well, there's hardly any, if there's no businesses there, they become less and less effective. So maybe there's something we can do to get that generated and get it going a bit, and get some action for the business people in Osoyoos here. Thank you. Signage, that was voted on. A bit of a upsetting note. Next business item number 9 on the cemetery fee. That was a very, very unfortunate circumstance that I happened to be involved in on that day of. So, Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. So this report's from Ron Doucette, our Director of Operational Services. And this request is for a reduction in cemetery fees for a particular cemetery plot. Due to the unfortunate and inexcusable circumstances of September 2nd, 2012, a cremain grave space for one of our residents, the interment wasn't opened. With the embarrassment to Public Works on their staff changeover, the paperwork got buried, unfortunately. Sorry to make that as a joke, it wasn't supposed to be. Our Public Works got out to the site once they were made aware of the issue, and they opened up the site. However, the family was waiting there and apparently present. Since that time, the family was billed for the full cemetery. It was on a weekend, so it had additional cost to the weekend burials and that. We've received a letter from the family, quite upset about it. They've requested that a reduction in fees be considered by council. The family was instructed that staff, even though we know that there was a mistake done here and an unfortunate one, that it's council that has to waive the fees because it's by bylaw. So what's in here is some options of charge the entire fee for the rate, charge a reduced fee that does not include the weekend fees, and that's what the 518.56 is, or no charge to it. I would like to throw in a fourth option of just our care fund charges only as a fourth option for council to consider. Mr. Doucette has discussed this at length with his staff so that this hopefully doesn't ever happen again. And in the letter that's going out to family after this would be also a sincere apology to the family for that circumstances.
Okay, and I don't know quite what number 4 means, but as I say, they phoned the mayor when it wasn't right at the cemetery, and fortunately things fell into place and we had someone there, and it happened to go forward. But there was quite a bit of out-of-town family there. So what did number 4 mean just for the care fund? I don't
Option 4, the care fund is it's basically a nominal rate. It just takes care of the future development of the cemetery.
Okay.
So the other user fees are for the opening and closing and the liner and those kind of things. Right. Where the care fund is more of a statutory component that we have to keep for the future.
So what would that amount be? Just roughly.
Roughly $100.
Okay. I would. I was sort of looking for number 3. But certainly number 4 being brought forward by Mr. Zackel would I think be the appropriate one. Mr. Zackel, please.
Mayor Wells, it is council's discretion if they wish to waive the entire amount of fees. Still council's discretion.
Okay.
To do that.
Okay. So council, what are what are council's wishes? It was just tough.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, yeah, I would recommend number 3 to no charge. Now, with this number 4 option, again, is this just a one-time fee that they pay, or how does this?
That's correct.
Okay.
All of these are basically a one-time fee. So likewise, again, council's discretion. I mean, you can call it cherry picking by adding here this or taking out that. Right. So,
yeah,
a clean and cut. Very sorry that the mistake happened. At least we can pony up for the mistake and say, you know what, carry forward.
Yeah. Councilor Ryan.
I would second that motion of Councilor Plants.
I think we're on the right track. Any comments on that? All in favor? Opposed? That'll be no charge then, item number 3.
So the letter will go out before the end of this week.
Sure. Thanks, council. Okay, that would be the end of the business portion of the meeting. Any notice of motions coming forward? Hearing none. Going into reports, General Sun Bowl Arena payroll accounts, cash requirements to December the 17th, representing balances in the following funds amounting to general account $391,985.71, Sun Bowl account in the matter of $10,973.94, and payroll accounts for receipt in the amount of $66,094.28. Any comments on those input changes? Hearing none, they will be adopted by consensus. The next item up is building permit requirements for November 2012. And am I going to get my computer back in time? Yes. Excuse me just for a minute here. The building permit summary. There was two items out there involving, the first one was some alterations in the amount of $120,000, and the second one was an addition on Lakeshore Drive to a building in the amount of $200,000, total for the month $320,000, total to date just over $4 million. Total to date last year was about $2.5 million. So we're up by $1.5 million over the year. If we log that out into 2013, we're probably going to have a great year. So, motion to receive, please. Councillor Ryan McCordoff, all in favor. We are in receipt. Heading to committee reports. Was there any committee reports coming forward? Councillor Ryan?
I distributed just a restorative justice steering committee draft minutes, but
Right.
I think maybe we'll get those in January, if that's okay.
Okay, great, thank you. And CAO report, I will pass that, I would assume, was Mr. Romanko, his mother had some heart issues and ended up in a very serious situation in Edmonton, so he left immediately on the weekend to be with his mom. And I understand there was some operative surgeries and things like that, and she's recovering at this point. So we wish her the best as the family heads into Christmas. Going into councillor reports, ladies first, Councillor McCordoff.
Thank you. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Okanagan Regional Library, to which I've just been reappointed. During the year this year, there was the executive director, Leslie Dino, decided that she was going to retire. So I was on the personnel committee, and we had a very interesting search for a new executive director, and it took several months and several meetings, and we now have a new executive director who is moving here, has worked in British Columbia, and is moving here from Saskatchewan, works for the Saskatchewan government at the moment. So seems to be a very good, her name is Stephanie Hall, and she's a very good, lots of ideas and lots of energy. So I think we're going to enjoy that, and she starts at the beginning of February. The other thing I wanted to say this month was that Christmas and December in Osoyoos is especially merry and jolly and lots of fun for everybody. And I just want to say a huge thank you to all the Osoyoos volunteers, the individuals, the businesses, the community groups, and the churches who have gone out of their way to provide concerts, choir singing, teas, craft fairs, dinners, festivals. And they've, I just want to make sure that everybody realizes that this is a special time of year, and these guys have gone well beyond helping and volunteering, and we just want to make sure that many of them continue for the rest of the year, because it can be a real high in December, and then it tends to quieten down. So we want to make sure that that the volunteers and all the others feel worthwhile, and that they help throughout the year as well as just at this time of year. One special thing that happens this month is the food bank. Just about every church and community group and craft fair that you go to is collecting items for the food bank, and of course there are there's normally one food bank day in each month, and this month in December there is a food bank day, and they also do hampers, so there's double. And next month there are two as well, one sponsored by the food bank and the other sponsored by the Seroptimus. So people are well looked after at this time of year. But for the Pastor Phil and the Baptist Church have taken on looking after the food bank, and they do an excellent job. I just have to give a shout out to Pat and Bill Yelland, who have been the coordinators for the food bank for several years, and they are retiring at the end of December, and they have done an exceptional job. Fortunately, Diane and Brian Zorn have agreed to take over this position, so we're delighted with that, and I think that things are in good hands. So I would just like to say Merry Christmas to everybody in Osoyoos. Have a great holiday, and I wish you all a happy and healthy 2013. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McCordoff, and I just may add to her report, I don't think anybody in town attends all the functions that Councillor McCordoff does. She can have 4 in one evening. She's just a whirlwind of attending, and I know that through that process she's also thanking the volunteers for their input and what they've done. So a good council, a great council representative out and about in the town of Osoyoos. Like to thank the Yalens for their years, and particularly thank the Zorns for their years coming forward. That's a great contribution to a most needed facility in our town. That's just one of the unfortunate parts of the current economy. So again, thanks to the Yalens and the Zorns. Next up is Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I mentioned the Restorative Justice Steering Committee a minute ago, and I will tell you a little more about that in the new year when we look at their first meeting. But it's a wonderful committee. Councillor McCordoff and I both sit on it, and there's going to be some exciting things I think that they will bring to our community. And I just want to alert you that sometime in the month of January, perhaps in early February, there will be a training session for facilitators in this program. So it's a chance to learn more about it and to become involved in a special way. We're sitting on the steering committee, which is hopefully promoting and facilitating it. But there will be more about it. But it's a wonderful way to deal with issues and to deal with offenders and people who are the victims without, if they can possibly be done without going through the whole court process. So very exciting, and I'll say more about that in the new year. I want to especially congratulate and thank the Osoyoos Concert Society, and especially the Okanagan International Choir, who just put on a fabulous concert. They just every year, you know, there's no doing the same thing twice. They always look for new arrangements and new Christmas songs and carols, and they had us all standing and everybody joining into a chorus of the Messiah, Handel's Messiah. So it was really quite a special evening this past week. I also wanted to welcome our new neighbors, Destination Osoyoos. They're in the health unit building just beside Town Hall, and they are just they're just absolutely ecstatic. I think we couldn't have thought of a better Christmas present for them. They just are very happy that the front part of that building has been redone. So I think they're probably going to be open officially for business later this week. But do go by and say hello and wish them well, and they're just going to gear up for a really busy 2013. I wanted to say a word about our new washrooms. They are open. Two of them are open. The one by Goodman Park over on Lakeshore Drive, and also the Gyro one. They're open during the winter, and they're a place for people who are walkers and joggers and so on. And we've gone to great lengths to make sure that they're nice, that they are in fact heated and all weather and all season. And so what I'm going to do is to ask you to not only use them as you need them, but even to just pop in and just make sure that they're okay, because they are one of our community's assets. And you know, sometimes just having people you know, near something, or walking in and looking around to make sure that everything is fine, and nobody has made poor use of this nice facility. And there will be little signs on the wall with a phone number in case you see something that is not working properly, or if there are supplies that are in need or whatever. So use them when you need them, but also just visit them and have a look and see that they're okay. They will appreciate it. And again, it is a season for caring and giving and thinking of other people, this Christmas holiday season. So please enjoy your family, your neighbors, your friends, and offer a kind word, a thoughtful act. Shoveling snow, I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate, especially with all the snow we're getting. And also, please support your local or your favorite charities. And the food bank, of course, comes to mind as being such an important important part of our community, not only at Christmas time, but throughout the year. So certainly I wish you all the very best for this holiday season and for a healthy, happy, prosperous 2013.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Some great comments there. Just one follow-up. It certainly seems that people involved with the Restorative Justice Committee are quite looking forward to it. There seems to be a high-energy committee, and so when we were looking earlier in the meeting at the consultative group that Sergeant Schur was talking about, I'm sure we can fill that and get that going and get some Osoyoos input into our policing thing. So thanks for that report. Councillor Plante, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. At the beginning of December, I did have a chance to enjoy some sun in Mexico with my wife, so we got away before we host Christmas here in our beautiful little town, so we're very excited about that. The chance that I got this week to step out a little bit was during our Christmas fun night, family fun night over at the Sonora Center. I just want to thank them again, Casey, Tamara, Sarah. They did just such a fantastic job with the events. Actually met some new residents to Osoyoos. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a very formal introduction as I was chasing my 2.5-year-old around. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that, as well as the families that came out, and there was some floor hockey being played, and since we didn't have snowballs inside, Casey came up with a game with marshmallows, and so there was a snowball fight inside the gym. It was very exciting, but they did such a fantastic job, so I just want to thank them for that. Earlier on that day of December 12th, I've also had the Children's and Youth Committee meeting. That is a meeting made up again of agencies and resources throughout the South Okanagan, especially within the Oliver and Osoyoos area, that help families out. This seems to be one of those times of year where again there are needs, sometimes a little bit heavy as we go into winter time. As we were talking, some of the participants were talking about how their agencies were being cut in budgets and all these kind of things. But every time I go into the meeting with these folks, I actually am motivated. And the motivation is that we continue to work together. And these groups get together and they talk about ways that we can interact between our community and these different resources, and how we can work together to provide awareness for families that are in need in certain situations. And so every time I get in there, I just feel, even though I know there's all these little bumps in the road for them, I always feel uplifted at the end that we're here, we're talking, it's about awareness, and it's about collaborating our resources and our agencies in this area. One of the things that did come up is the Moroccan escape is coming, the grand night on January the 26th. Now, it is proceeds that are going to the Safe House Project and other programs related to Desert Sun. So if you get a chance, January 26th is the date. Tickets can be purchased at the Imperial Office Pro and Beyond Bliss. Just a fantastic night. I never had a chance to go last year. But from what I've seen, it's a formal dinner and dance and prize draws and silent auction. It's just a well done event and done for a good cause. And finally, I just want to, again, as the other councillors have mentioned, just extend my my wishes for everyone to have a great holiday season, for my wife and my family, and I'm just looking forward to them actually all coming here and getting ourselves involved in some events, probably heading up to Mount Baldy, since they just opened up and have some beautiful snow up there. But again, thank you to everyone, and I look forward to where we head into 2013. So everybody, happy holiday. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Plante. Another great report, all reflecting life in Osoyoos. I'd just like to start out by saying how appreciative I am of council. It's been a real pleasure to work with you folks for a year, and we're just over a year as a council. It certainly has been productive. I really appreciate how we go at differing positions on issues, how they get resolved, how we work through probably every possible angle that you can. We look at it all, and you know, when we're finished, when we're done, it's basically by consensus. There's the odd time it's a 4-to-1 vote or something like that, but very seldom is it a 2-to-3 vote, and never is there any acrimony. It's taken as a proper decision, and what you may have been on the side that didn't win, but it's just been a wonderful experience, and I know that this council's just done a great job in serving the community, and we're seeing that in the results of things that are happening in the town. So that's been a real pleasure, and of course staff. Staff is a part of that. That's, you know, if there was glitches in the system, it would come undone and it would break down. So it's a very, very smooth organization in the town, and you know, we have our hiccups, but again, it's that smooth flow, and it comes down to respect, and it's when you have that respect, that our word is just huge, and I think we could try to get that involved in different areas that we have contact with. To the people of Osoyoos and area, it's Merry Christmas. It is that good time, and parroting what's been said by previous councilors, enjoying family, enjoying what the meaning of the season is. That's what it's all about. So do enjoy, do give. It's very, very important, and my wishes for next year are the very, very best of health for you and your family. Look after yourself. Look after yourself over the holidays. Don't break a leg skiing, Councillor Plant. So do look after everybody that you can. The best in health for 2013. Enjoy the season. Good afternoon.